RedZoneSports.bet, the British home of American sports.
Hi guys, and welcome to this week's episode of the SportsHeads NBA edition, sponsored by RedZoneSports.bet. My name is Tori, and I am joined by... I've called you beautiful, I've called you wonderful. Spectacular co-stars, Steve and Nick.
I still don't think you sound very sincere.
No, well,
I really don't.
I like you looking at me when you said it. So this is good. This is good. I love the intro.
I was going to say that there might be a reason to that. I'm joking. Okay, so weekly review. We're going to start off by talking a couple of marquee players have been thinking they're maybe a little bit of the bad man these days. KD in particular, Kevin Durant, he has been ejected. So the first, I had a little look at stats when we were discussing this. So his first 810 games in his career, he was ejected twice. In the past 18, 3 times. And that's the second time in 3 days. Who does he think he is?
Exactly. I'm not. I don't know about these ejections. I kind of wrote a few things down too. They're all big name players and all late in the game, like from the 5-minute mark of the fourth quarter onwards. To me, I mean, the one with KD and Boogie Cousins the other day was like a minute left in the game. They're pointless. I really don't. I think they're just trying to be hard and stand up. You know, I don't know. It just, for me, it's the most pointless to get ejected once the game is finished. You know what I mean? I think if you're that passionate about it, be like that way from the opening tip.
But at least at the end of the day, at least the game's already over and you don't actually affect the team. I mean, these instances are happening late on in games. I think the bigger one with here is Durant. What actually is Durant's problem right now? Is it the fact that he's kind of playing with a bit of a chip on his shoulder? Is it that all of a sudden that people are not liking him as much as they used to? You know, we had this thing around when the All-Star game kind of format was going to be changed. People kind of joked, well, nobody wants to play with Durant. But Durant has gone from that to where he is now, and I used to really like Kevin Durant.
I still like Kevin Durant, but I completely agree with you. Since he's moved to Golden State, he is kind of trying to find that, you know, maybe he wants to be the bad guy of the league, but he's really not that person. So I think he's putting himself into, I don't know about these ejections. I'm not a fan. I don't agree. I don't even know what I'm trying to say. That's how much I disagree with it.
Do you think that it's kind of like almost like the referees maybe trying to make a statement?
I was about to say, do we think this is really coming from the players? Is it the players that are changing, or is it
the referees are basically
the game?
The referees are turning around and saying, we know, like we're gonna control these games. We're gonna do what we want to be able to do.
Yeah. And
it is also early in the season. I sometimes think these things also kind of like level themselves out as
They
well.
They do.
And the players kind of understand what they can't get away with, what they can get away with, because you know, like, officials change from season to season. How officials handle games also changes.
Rules.
So the only thing I feel we're doing is we keep talking about it being early on in the season, and it is, but we are progressing.
It's getting later,
But
do you know what I mean? We are about to be entering
but
2018.
I think, you know, we are about to enter 2018. But I mean, these guys have played 25 games right now, somewhere around about that sort of time. I think if we're still talking about these same problems come February, around about the All-Star game, then I think we've then got a major issue.
Yeah.
But I don't really see it's going to be that case. I think it will possibly settle down. I don't know, maybe it is the referees and maybe some of the star players kind of batting heads a little bit.
And everyone's fighting right now.
Well, I mean, for me, the big one was Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis, who a lot of people consider very, very mild-mannered. He lost it.
He did lose it.
I mean, he was having to be carried away.
Yeah.
Because
he was mad.
He was
you
really
saw that,
mad.
That was like the glazed over, like icy red.
Yeah, he got the one technical, and then he didn't like a foul call, and then he got another technical, and that was it. I mean, if you're being restrained by DeMarcus Cousins,
that's right.
You know,
no, you're right. That is
there is
something wrong with that.
There is something wrong with that picture. So I think even when you've got the mild-mannered players in the NBA, kind of like this is going to be an issue. LeBron was obviously ejected for the first time in his career. I think it's an interesting one that in recent times maybe we haven't necessarily looked at star players being ejected, but this year we can really start counting the number of star players that have been ejected.
I do like, because I like the passion. I like all that, but I just think for me I just look at it and I think, oh, Kevin Durant ejected. First thing I do look at is when in the game it was. Every single time it's the end of a game. I just think that it's just pointless. For me, it's pointless. The game is dead and buried. Get off the court. You know, these technicals add up. Eventually, he's going to miss a game. It doesn't really matter because it is the Warriors. But for me, I don't know. Maybe it's just trying to make the headlines. That's all I can put it down to.
Just keeping on the Warriors, to touch on Steph Curry's injury and the numerous other injuries that seem to be coming up with some star players at the moment. Again, there seems to be a bit of a trend. We've got people being ejected and being sent off, and then we're getting people who are injuring themselves. Fortunately, Steph is okay. He should be back within 2 weeks, and they think that it'll be good from long term. But what's going on? Give me the answers, guys.
I think
look into that crystal ball.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, again, it's one of those things, isn't it? The NBA looked to kind of change how teams handle players, the whole rest scenario. So they looked at the schedule, made some modifications to that, tried to take out the 4 and 5 nights, try and cut down again, maybe potentially on the back-to-backs. Yep. But we're still getting these injuries. So I still think there's some work to be done there. I know a lot of people could turn around and say, and probably like me and you in some respects, who don't and say, well, great players in the past were playing 82 games, so what necessarily is the issue now? But it is a different game, and I think we do need to kind of look after these players and make the schedule a bit more friendly. And I think we're not, outside of the big serious injury, obviously we had to Gordon Hayward, it's more about the general everyday niggles. Like Steph Curry's potentially out for a week or two, Booker's out for a small period of time, Anthony Davis is now out for a few days in the late. Tim Hardaway.
It's all 2 to 3 weeks.
Exactly. Hassan Whiteside is also out for the next few games as well. I mean, it's all those kind of things. It's more the niggly side of things, which for me comes down to maybe we need to kind of give players even more rest, have a look at the schedule again going forward, and I think maybe it's time now to try and reduce the number of games and really cut down on those back-to-backs.
Really? No, I'm surprised. I didn't think you'd say that. I'm completely, as you said before, I think they used to play 82 games, back-to-back nights. We should do that now. I mean, injuries happen in all sports. I think it is just a thing. And maybe it is, we're, 25 games into it. Maybe that's part of it. We've had the long layoff in the summer, or the training camp, and, maybe it's just the time the bodies start kind of breaking down a bit before you push on.
So you just feel that there's so much more information and knowledge out there now, though, to be able,
you would think medically wise,
to deal with them better.
Yeah. Maybe it's, I don't know, I see all these ankle ones, maybe they're, the new trainers, the low tops guys are wearing, maybe, maybe that's part of it, I don't know, but I mean, injury's going to happen. It is just very strange that they all happen at the same time right now.
Yeah, and I think as well, we're also looking at the fact, I think the teams are being a bit more cautious again. I mean, you'd rather have an injury now or give some player rest now rather than you would do later in the season, so we're going to be a bit more cautious. And dare I say, is this one way we can get around the whole rest scenario? Exactly. That if a player's got a bit of a knock, then what we'll do is we'll say, well, we'll say it's a little bit more serious, and then we'll then put this guy on the shelf. I mean, obviously not the case in Kawhi Leonard because obviously he's had to come back. Yeah. But I'm more thinking about, I read the Hassan Whiteside one, and it's basically a badly bruised knee. And all of a sudden he's on the shelf for like 3 or 4 games, and you're like, I know it's not a playoff team right now, but you maybe take a look at it and go, well, if we announce he's injured, that's a different way of us saying he's actually resting. And you've got to get players have to provide like a doctor's note. Yeah.
It'll be interesting as you get to the end of the season, the last month, if these kind of things happen.
Absolutely. I can't wait for it.
I mean, I am a big one on rehab and recovery as well. I have tried playing or training through kind of niggles, and it can set you back so much longer. So you do get why they're doing it. Yeah. Otherwise, you're going to end up being like Rose and having a constant list of injuries.
And these guys are an investment. These guys are paid a fortune. So
absolutely.
Exactly. You want some longevity. So just touching on Rose, because obviously he's got a substantial list of injuries. He's come back to the Cavs. Yeah. This wasn't necessarily what we were expecting.
I'm happy though.
Is it because of the money? Is it because of the game? I mean...
Yeah, it's a lot of money to walk away from.
A lot.
I mean, again, that's exactly it. You're going to leave that kind of money on the table. I don't necessarily see how you're going to do that, to be completely honest with you. And I think him coming back, you would like to think, putting everything aside of what he's gone through in the past, you'd like to think that he can actually still contribute on a basketball court. Yeah. I just don't know if he can. I still stand by what I said last week. I still think China should be the option for him.
I thought it was a good idea.
Isaiah Thomas is obviously coming back soon. So for me, I certainly think that's potentially where Rose is going to have an issue. I think when Thomas comes back, where does he fit in the rotation? I mean, even now, where does he fit in the rotation?
Yeah. That's true.
The Cavs are on a winning streak. Are they really going to try and put Rose back out there? As I said before, the Rose fit in Cleveland doesn't work. He can't play off the ball.
But is it more of a mental attribute that he brings, like in regards to the morale? They are obviously a very close team.
Yeah. I think half of that, and I think he has value. Maybe not on the Cavs. I do. That's probably last week I thought that was the one team that was perfect for him. After I thought about it, I think you were right actually that. they don't need him in a way.
No.
And what he does isn't what they need in a way, and his liability is what's going to hurt the team.
Yeah.
So I'm glad he's back because I love the guy. I'm just happy for him. I don't think he's not going to come back to what he was even probably last year.
No.
So what kind of a player he's going to be, I don't know, but
the thing is as well, I mean, when you look at it, there are other point guards out in the league that can't necessarily shoot. I mean, Derrick Rose, I may be a bit hard on him, but he doesn't necessarily play off the ball that well.
No.
But put him in an offense where actually put the ball in his hands. Mm-hmm. I mean, he still shoots better than guys like Ricky Rubio or something like that can't shoot, hasn't looked at his jump shot for whatever reason. So you play to Derrick Rose's strengths. And I think, again, sometimes, obviously all of us probably do it. We take a look at a situation and go, you don't play to that guy's strengths. I mean, even you could have almost made a case for, I don't know how many Bulls fans would have been acceptable to this, but the Bulls had the cap room or anything else. Why not bring him back to Chicago? Yeah. That's where he made his name. Okay, there were some ups and downs in that. But I'm sure a lot more Chicago fans would have been more happy to see him.
No,
but he doesn't. Yeah, but no.
The times he's left, he's been, family reasons or something, and so obviously put him back with his family. No, I completely
kind
agree
of maybe correct some of the wrongs of the past.
Yeah,
and
I'd be up for that.
At the end of the day, the Bulls are not going to be great for the next few years. So what damage are you actually doing by bringing him back?
No, I agree. And
you can
he's going to mentor
that.
The younger players as well.
Absolutely, and I think that is the big key with that one. You get a young point guard in there for all of the thoughts we say about Derrick Rose. He could still be a mentor for a young point guard in this league. Very successful what he did until the injury slowed him down. I would have seen the benefit because there are only so many teams out there that can actually swallow up that kind of money that he's actually got, and the Bulls would have been one of those teams.
Yeah. No, I would have liked it, and I wouldn't be surprised if he is back there at some point.
So moving on to something a little bit more positive. Obviously, we've touched on a few of the issues at the moment within the NBA, trending issues. But talking about Bradley Beal, we've seen a few record highs or career highs coming up over the last couple of weeks. Bradley Beal, 51 points. Pretty impressive.
I really liked it. I mean, I think the thing is as well, when we think about the Wizards, we always think about Bradley Beal, we think about John Wall. Mm-hmm. John Wall's not there, so Bradley Beal had to kind of put the team on his back. He had early struggles, I think, trying to adjust with Wall not being out there, so of course he's going to draw the better defenders. Mm-hmm. But then he just exploded in his game. I think for me, it showed again like a more maturity from Bradley Beal. He put the team on his back, 21 out of 37, 50 plus points.
Exactly, that was it for me, 21 out of 37. And they were tough shots as well.
Oh,
they weren't freebies, and he's the one with the spotlight now.
Yeah.
He actually said that at the interview after. He felt at halftime he had to put the team on his back. I was very impressed, but maybe that says something about Washington as well, that he has to go and score 51 right now. But no, I mean, for that game of what it was, I thought he looked fantastic. So all credit to him on there.
I mean, I think it depends on obviously how the Wizards move forward. Obviously, when Wall comes back, I mean, I think Wizards are one of those teams. They can be very, very good. They can also be, they can be a bit not as great as we think they're going to be.
That's it.
But Bill, I think, put up one of those games. I think we should always appreciate when an NBA player puts 50 plus on the board.
Yeah,
it's going to be a tremendous game. And he was, for me, efficient enough to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
You're making over 50% of your shots.
It's giving people that little bit of push at the moment because everyone's like, oh. All right, okay. This is my time now. You're gonna get that record, right? I'm coming in.
Right. Yeah, I mean, again, everyone kind of views him as like second fiddle to John Wall. When we look at the Wizards, so he's kind of saying, I can do this. Wall may be leading the team, but I can put up this game.
Isn't it?
And again, that helps going forward. Now, scouting wise, you're gonna have to pay more attention to Bradley Beal, even though you would have before. But now he's proved he can go off when he wants to.
It's still one of the most dynamic backcourts in the NBA.
Fair point.
Yeah.
Fair point.
No, very fair.
I'm going to go from more of a high-level view now. So looking at the Western Conference, we've got 7 teams currently above 500. 4 of those are in the Northwest Division. Bar 1. Thunder, where you at? Well, I mean, should it be again, I know we touched on it a lot, that we are still relatively early on in the season, but is this something that we should be concerned about?
I'm more concerned about this as the weeks go by, to be honest with you now. And I think when you start looking at Thunder games, I mean, Westbrook is what he is. He is the leader of this team. Yes. Paul George and Melo are still trying to kind of find their roles. I mean, I know that Donovan's come out this week and he said, he's really pleased and it was saying about how much Melo and Paul George have been, putting aside their games almost to try and, for the better of the team. I actually think that Donovan needs to take another look at this. And for my way of thinking going forward is that they should keep the starting lineup as is, but put Melo in with the second unit. I think that's something they need to look at because
opposed to that?
No, they need to, because at the moment I think Melo and Westbrook on the court isn't kind of working. Paul George kind of works in both of them, so I think you've got to figure out how you're going to divide these minutes up. I mean, Adams is playing incredibly well as well for them, and he's actually probably more of an offensive danger right now than Melo is. So just take Melo out of the equation for a minute, put Melo on the bench, have him lead the second unit, and just see how that works for the next 15, 20 games.
There's nothing wrong. I don't know if he would do that, but there's something in there, and I think maybe that's what they have to look at going to the All-Star game. I think it's that tough point where, again, we're saying that we are getting later in the season, but there's still, you need those games. They need to play it out. They need to get out the game. It's like everything we said at the beginning of the season. You throw any sport, you throw new guys together, it's going to take time to gel. Cool. So I'm not that surprised. I think I'm more surprised that the other teams in the division are above 500 than these guys are. I mean, they're 11 and 12. It's not like they're 20 games back or anything. They're they're one more game and they are a 500 team. So I would give it to the All-Star game if they're still around this mark. Then, and hopefully I would think Melo himself would be like, move me to the bench. I don't see that happening, but. I
mean, I think we've looked at it. I mean, Dwayne Wade has got almost like a new lease of life playing on the state with the second unit in Cleveland. And I think if you do the same with Melo, and now we can get hold of superstars and have them, let's say, come off the bench. I think it's not quite like it was before, where if you relegated to the bench, that was it. Oh, okay. Yeah. You kind of take that pretty hard. But I think with Melo, I think he would be the sort of guy that can actually lead that second unit.
Sixth man of the year. I like it.
Potentially, yeah. I mean, you can't write him out of that equation because. If you have him come off the bench, we all know he's a high volume scorer. Lead that second unit.
Yeah, I'd like to see that actually.
The reason why I say that as well is the fact that they played a game the other night. Well, it's got 100 points. The starters combined for 93 of those. Yeah. 7 points off the bench. You cannot do that. No. You've got to be able to get something coming in.
Especially when we're talking injuries. One of those guys goes down.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the thing is, you shorten the bench in the playoffs. That's absolutely fine, but you cannot rely on that during the regular season. That's right. Just experiment with it. 10, 15 games in, if it doesn't go well, I don't think Donovan's job's in any sort of danger at the moment anyway. No. So why not have a look at it? This is the time to do it. Go through Christmas, go through January and see how it works out.
So I'm just going to touch on that in regards to coaches. We've seen 2 coaches be fired this season already. It's early days for that point of view. Should other people be concerned? There seems to be so many changes going on right now.
You got it. Life of the NBA, you have to be concerned almost every day. Again, I'm actually more surprised there hasn't been many other coaches being fired. These days, it's kind of you're only as good as your last win kind of a thing. Yeah. If you're not winning, get the hell out of here. But I like coach fires. I'm not against any of the coaches I've gone, and we're kind of looking at who could be on the hot seat now. Yeah. I kind of went with Doc Rivers.
Really?
Yeah, I went with that one. Only because the Clippers I think they should be better where we are. We were touching it last week, how the injuries are coming down. But Doc is also, at least he was, the general manager, wasn't he? He's had that title removed, so it's his team he's put together, and they're going backwards and backwards and backwards. Maybe they just need to do face. I mean, I love Doc Rivers, but sometimes you just need a new.
About them
you just need a new face in the
See, I've got a real problem every single time we talk about firing a coach when they've got major injury problems.
I agree with that.
And I think that's the issue here. I mean, Blake's out for a while. They've got Patrick Beverley on the shelf. They've got the DeAndre Jordan saga. None of that is Doc Rivers' fault.
Agreed, but at the same time, this is sport. There are going to be injuries, and sometimes you're going to get them involved. I feel that you need. I'm not saying that it's their fault, but you also need to have a bit of. You need some tools in your toolbox to be able to deal with that.
I think any time a franchise gets rid of a coach when there's injury issues, I think you send a statement around to the rest of the coaches that are not in the jobs.
Normally I would agree with that, but I think in the Clippers, I think their time has come and gone. They had that small window to do something. Chris Paul's gone now. They're not going to get better. So well, that's my bet. I'm thinking Doc.
Yeah, I mean, so you basically what you're saying is you do not believe the Clippers hierarchy when they turn around and say that Doc Rivers' job's safe to the end of the season.
If someone says your job's safe to the end of the season, that's pretty much because of death.
Yeah, I don't see them necessarily. I don't necessarily see him potentially being at the end of the season, but I don't think he's one of the guys that I would get rid of first. I think I would throw out 2 guys out here. I've mentioned before Jason Kidd in Milwaukee. If they do not figure this out, then I would get rid of Jason Kidd because he has now all the tools available to him. If they are not one of the elite teams in the Eastern Conference, I'm sorry to say, it's kind of like the Mark Jackson Golden State scenario. He's probably taken them as far as they can go. You need a new guy in there that can take them to the next level. I think the other guy that I think always gets linked around here is Mr. Gentry. Mr. Gentry, who cannot figure out how to play DeMarcus and Anthony Davis together. Whenever we see one of those two guys not in the lineup, they seem to play so much better. DeMarcus obviously had big games. They should be a powerhouse, but he cannot figure that out.
Yeah.
I mean, DeMarcus is having some of his big games again when Anthony Davis isn't around. Anthony Davis looks much better when DeMarcus isn't around. We all know they've got to kind of sort that scenario out. It's only going to end up, I think, with Boogie Cousins going forward. It doesn't, and I'm not saying it's completely all his fault, but ultimately he's been given these two once-in-a-generation type players, and he can't make it work. If you can't make that work, you're going to lose your job. Take for instance, Doug Collins years ago in with the Bulls.
But maybe that just doesn't work, the two of them together.
Maybe not.
It's not his fault, but I know what you're saying. Get another coach in, and then if it doesn't work, then you maybe.
I'm not 100% convinced that it does work. That's the thing. It should do, and it kind of like the old thing, isn't it? Like Steve Kerr says, great players figure it out.
Yeah.
And these two guys are great players. They should figure it out. But year on, year out, we see this franchise isn't particularly well run, in my opinion, anyway. I think they may have got the coaching that's not great for this particular franchise. But even so, they've got these two franchise type players that they should be doing much better with them. I would like to see better things from the Pelicans.
Yeah, I agree. And it's not just them. I mean, Holiday, point guard, I love him. I mean, they do have the weapons in place.
Yeah.
So, put him on that list as well. But for me, I'd still go with Doc. Just because I think they're on the decline. And I think you have to. When do you
they are 100% on the decline. I mean, for me, they should have got rid of Blake Griffin in the summer and did a complete refit. But they chose not to going forward, and that's fine. But it's potentially blown up in their face. And whilst they're hanging around trying to decide what they're going to do with DeAndre Jordan, they're basically setting their franchise back even further.
That's right. Not that I want Doc fired or any of them fired, especially this time of year. But former Nick, correct. I love the guy. But I just
see his little face light up there. Yeah. Oh.
Lost a fight to JoJo English.
Okay, so we're just kind of discussing choices that were necessarily made at the start of the season. Some teams may be regretting some of their draft picks.
Yes.
Who do you think may be feeling the most regret right now?
Okay, I will throw this one out there first of all. Philadelphia. Yeah, I mean, just Markel Fultz, the number 1 overall pick. We don't know what's up with his shoulder. This could be interesting going forward. And it's not so much that they got theirs wrong on draft night. It was the fact that what they did on draft night and basically getting in this number 1 overall pick, they then dealt another first-round pick to the Celtics, which allowed them to pick Jason Tatum. Tatum's been phenomenal for the Celtics. And he's shooting 51% from 3, 4 out of 5 again, I think, last night. Just I mean, just incredible. I mean, again, Danny Ainge is an absolute genius. As I say, for me, it's not necessarily so much about what Philadelphia did wrong in picking the wrong player. It just made the wrong decision. I think the Celtics may end up fleecing them.
Yeah.
So when this topic came up, I actually went through, and I mean, it's already here. The only quite big question mark, 76ers. It's the only team I could come up with that really had again, not a bad draft because he's a good player, but
it's what they got wrong.
What they got wrong, exactly.
For me, the other one, I mean, the other guy I'm really high on, I mentioned on previous in the show, is John Collins over in Atlanta. I mean,
he was quite late, wasn't he?
He was further down the first round, and he's got the highest PER of any rookie out there at 20.5. He's averaging over 11 boards a game per 40 minutes. I mean, you look at two teams that could have done with that kind of production. The Bucks could have potentially picked him up. The Blazers could have potentially picked him up. So it's more about what they missed on draft night. So again, I mean, you look at that whole Milwaukee situation. That's one thing they were in dire need of, and it was staring at them straight in the face. Maybe, I will say this, it is hindsight. I mean, John Collins obviously getting a playing time in Atlanta. Would he have maybe got that in Milwaukee? And that's something you do maybe have to have a look at. And I don't want to kind of I think from the other one, it is, I think, not only the Knicks, but I think a few teams will regret not taking Dennis Smith Jr. It's not just the Knicks. I think a lot of teams will regret that at the end of the day.
I'm glad with what we got, but no, I agree with you there. Dennis Smith Jr. is fantastic.
Again, it's not about necessarily what the Knicks chose. It's about what other teams didn't look at in Dennis Smith, because a lot of people are high on Dennis Smith. He has shown how explosive he is. I think Dallas may finally figure a few things out. So I think that's going to be the interesting one. I think that's one they're going to look at towards the end of the season. You think, yeah, I wish we'd have taken Dennis Smith.
Yeah, I will agree with that. It's also weird with this Fultz thing. You don't really hear it much anymore. They're not saying,
That's
not
Ben
hearing
Simmons.
this whole this whole trust the process. If this was last year, Philadelphia fans would have been like, oh God, here we go again.
Yeah.
But they're playing good without him, obviously. But if I'm a 76 fan, I think I'd be making more noise about what the hell's going on with Fultz and his shoulder, and where is he? He's a #1 pick. Why isn't he on the court?
But I think again, because you say, because he's not playing, he's kind of like out of the picture. They've got Ben Simmons, they've got Joel Embiid, they've got all the other guys like Dario Saric and all those guys actually performing.
Yeah.
That all of a sudden
There's
the Sixers.
There's a lot of hype to talk about anyway, isn't there? So
There
it's
is.
not that
I
they're
mean,
picking out. They're sitting there trying to pick a subject to discuss, which I think
that's
when it normally happens.
I agree with you. If that was like a year or two ago, that would have been a much bigger story. But now you've got like Ben Simmons, who is looking absolutely phenomenal for them.
Embiid's
all of a sudden, we're not really talking about
They
Fultz
seem
anymore.
to be drafting this year's pick to play 2 years from now. They keep getting those.
I don't know about Fultz. Yeah, I mean, at the moment we've got to worry about Fultz on his shoulder. At the minute, it's exactly what's going to come out of that because.
Again, back to Ainge. He knew something, didn't he?
I mean, on the night, I was quite critical of Danny Ainge. I thought, Fultz was the #1 overall pick. It was quite obvious the #1 overall pick. Yeah. And I thought, well, Jason Tatum, I thought, was a fine pick. But why would you move out of the #1 spot? I mean, it's very rare for that to happen. But obviously, Ainge got it right.
Yeah.
Again, we should never doubt Danny Ainge. No. Danny Ainge gets it right more often than not.
He does. We'll be meeting him in London. So we'll ask him about that one.
Danny.
Pick his brains. Danny, come sit down. Sit down. Right, so that brings us to a close of our weekly review show. It's flowed beautifully today, guys. Great combos. So make sure that you subscribe and keep your eye out for our other shows that will be launching today, and also hit the subscribe button so that you get notifications for next week's show. We hope you have a great weekend.
You gotta keep your eye on the ball, boys. Check out our latest hoops offer. RedZoneSports.bet, the British home of American sports.